welcome to my channel, and I'm back with you once again with another video of Microsoft Flight Simulator. Nowadays I'm exploring the Captain Sim Boeing 777-300ER, and in this regard I'm just making a series of videos in order to cover all the aspects related to a flight for this plane. So far I have done some videos, and this video is going to be slightly different as in this video I will be using the ATC communication because before this I have not used ATC communication for any of the flight. I've been trying out different flights with the ATC communication. It works really well. There are a few things that you have to just get used to it. So once you get your hands on, then you can do a complete flight with the help of an ATC communication. So this video is totally focused on that. I will be also taking you through all the procedures of this plane, the startup procedures, the configuration of the FMC, flying the plane on autopilot. So it's going to be a complete tutorial. I'm making this video by keeping in mind that the beginners will be watching this video and the people at a very beginners level will be watching it. So that's why I will try to keep things at a very basic level. So if you are at a certain level of expertise, I don't think so. This video will really help you, but still if you're there, thank you very much for staying with me. And I hope you will also learn something from this video. And if you want to add anything to this video, the comment section is there for you. All the videos that I've done before, I've just given the link of all those videos in the description. You can just go and watch those videos as well. Right now I will be doing a short flight from Dubai to Qatar, and it's a nice flight. It's a short route. I'm using the Emirates livery for this Boeing 777-300ER, and right now I'm parked at the Dubai International Airport. And let's begin this video. First of all, I would just like to give you a little bit of introduction of the plane. Why this throttle is like this? Okay, so just bring the throttle to idle. Just make sure the throttle is in the idle position. Okay, so before I begin, I would just like to give you an introduction of the cockpit, different parts of the cockpit, so that during the startup procedures and during the flight, you know where to look for and what each button and the knob performs a job or duty in this plane. So right now the front panel, as you can see, it's known as the MCB mode control panel, with the help of which you can activate the autopilot, and plus you can arm the auto throttle. It really helps you once you are on autopilot. Then you can set the altitude, the heading of the plane, and plus the altitude of the plane, and plus the climb and the descent rate by changing this option over here, which is vertical speed. This is the EFIS, which is the Electronic Flight Instrument System. Over here, you have a few controls related to the primary flight display and navigation display. You can set the barometric pressure in order to adjust the altimeter. That's what I will be showing you in this video. And then you can select different views on the navigation display by moving these knobs. And with the help of this knob, you can just like zoom in and zoom out of the navigation display. Right now, you can see two FMCs, which is the flight management computer, which interacts with the flight management guidance system of the plane. All you have to do is just configure the FMC and then leave everything to the autopilot. Your flight will be carried out successfully. This part of the plane is known as the pedestal, and these are the controls for the radio communication. I will be able to change the radio communication over here, but right now for this video I will be using this option in this video. And one more thing I forgot to tell you, these two screens are known as the ECAM, the upper ECAM and the lower ECAM. Sorry, ICAS. ECAM is in the Airbus. This is the ICAS, which is engine indicating and crew alerting system. On these screens, you can actually see the engines, their performance, the fuel, and even if the doors are open or not, you can see all these controls. You can just click them and you can change views on these screens. Right now, for this version of the plane, these buttons don't work, so you won't be able to see different information over here. Whatever is coming, you just have to live with that. Okay, and with this is the lever for the thrust. And this is for the lever for the speed brakes, and this is the lever for the flaps. You will be able to set the flaps from this lever. If you go to the upper panel, you have controls for the battery, for the APU, and for the fuel pumps, for the hydraulic pumps, electrical systems, and then you have controls for the bleed air, and then from here you can just turn on and off the lights. And also the anti-ice option is there, and the window heat. So that's it. And let's now start the plane. Before this, I would just like to tell you one thing, that the plane has got four types of different power sources. First of all, the battery. It's required to have initial power in the plane so that you can do ATC communication, or at least there's some life in the plane. As you can see right now, I cannot interact with ATC because there is no power in the plane. In order to have this option on, you have to turn on the battery. Once you have the battery, then you can call for a ground power unit, which is the GPU van, which connects with the plane and provides power to the plane. You can activate the ground power unit, or the power that's coming from the ground power unit. The external power, you can turn it on from here. Once you are done with all the ground services and everything, and the passengers on board, you're ready to take off. You then start with the pushback, and before the pushback, you have to disconnect the GPU, and then you have to turn on. But before this, you have to turn on the APU, which is the auxiliary power unit. It's a generator in the plane at the back, and you turn it on, and then your plane is on the APU power. And after the pushback, you turn on the engines, and then you turn off the APU. So every time you have a new power source, you turn off the old power source. So after turning on the engines, you turn off the APU, and after turning on the APU, you turn off the external power. But obviously, if you're new to this plane or new to the flight simulation, maybe this thing will look or sound different or difficult. But once I'll take you through the procedures, you will really understand. So right now I'm going to turn on the battery, and now you can see there's some life in the plane, except for the primary flight display and the navigation display on the co-pilot side. And the rest of the screens are up, and especially the lower ICAS is not active. Again, I was about to call it ECAP. Okay. So that's it. We have some power in the plane. With this, what you can do is this. Now I'm going to take you through the basic procedures. As I told you before, I've never done a video with the ATC communication. So right now this video is tutorial, is primarily focusing on the ATC communication and how do you make your flight plan and fly the plane and land it with the help of an ATC communication. So right now, as you have got power in the plane, you don't simply go and turn on this external power. It says available, but practically, if in the real life, the GPU van is actually not connected with the plane. And if it's not connected with the plane, you cannot have power. As you can see, it's not connected. So what you have to do is this. You have to call for the ground power unit. So go to the ground services, and over here you will see power supply.
Dubai Ground Emirates 420. Could you please send a ground power unit?
And the ground power unit will be on its way. So right now you can see this ground power unit is getting connected to the plane. So in the real life, this is how it works. So right now you can see the GPU van is now connected to the plane. Now you can turn on the secondary power. And with this, all the air conditioning will start to work, as you can hear it. I think I've kept the volume enough so that you can hear it. But you can hear it, and now it's connected, and everything is now up and running. Now you can further proceed with the procedures. First of all, the most important thing that you have to do is connect the jetway, because obviously you have to get the crew and the passengers on the plane. So this is the first thing that you want to do. So what I can do right now is this. I can call for the ground power unit, the jetway, and I can go over here and request for the jetway.
Ground Emirates 420. Could you please connect the jetway to the aircraft?
So now the front door is opening, the left one, and the jetway is now connected to the plane. Now the crew and the passengers can get on the plane. Now what you can do is this. You can now begin with the baggage services and the catering services.
Dubai Ground Emirates 420. Could you please send the baggage?
Emirates 420 baggage is on the way.
And now I can call for the catering service.
420. Could you please send the catering truck?
Emirates 420, the catering truck is on the road.
Now the front right cargo door is now open, and the cargo will be loaded in the plane. And if you look at the left side, you can see the aft door is open on the right side. And the catering van will also be delivering food to the plane, which will be used during the flight. So that's how you start the catering services and the backend services. Mostly, if you are have some experience with the Microsoft Flight Simulator, you would know how to do this. But I'm just taking you through the different steps. Now, as the passengers are getting on the plane, the baggage is getting on the plane, the food and everything, all the ground services are being carried out. This is the time when you program the FMC, which is the most important part of the flight because you have to tell the plane what to do during the flight. So first of all, you go to this page and you go back to index, and over here you will see the different options. You have to actually select all these options in the sequence that they're appearing. First of all, you have to select the position, then the performance, thrust limit for the takeoff, and then takeoff performance, and then approach. There is another option coming, ident. If you click this, you will see the model of the plane plus the engine and the air rag cycle. Right now, you will see 747 8i coming over here because this Boeing 777-300ER is actually a modified version of the Boeing 747, which comes with the Microsoft Flight Simulator. So that's why you can see even 4 engines over here, whereas 777-300ER has got only 2. So that's why it's coming as 747 8i, and the engine is GE. AirRag cycle is actually a database which contains the information about the airports, the airways, and the waypoints. So it is updated. The best thing about Microsoft Flight Simulator is that the AirRag cycle is always updated, and as you can see it on your screen, it's updated till June 14th, and it will be updated now, I think. Once you get the latest update, it might be updated, but still you have updated information. If you make a flight plan in the SimBrief, you will not find any issues. Because if you're using X-Plane or X-Plane 12, there is an issue. You have to update the AirRag cycle by getting an Navigraph subscription. But over here, it's for free. Now, go back to this main page, initial reference page, initref, and we can start programming the FMC, which is the flight management computer. First of all, you have to get the reference airport, which is OMDB. This is the ICAO code for the Dubai International Airport. You have to enter this over here. And then you have to enter the GPS position. This is actually done by this ADIRU. This is IRS alignment, which is known as the inertial reference system. This system actually provides the GPS coordinates to the flight management and guidance system. So this has to be entered over here because then the rest of the flight plan will be carried out based on this position that is entered over here. So this is the current GPS position of the plane, and now we have set the IRS. So this has to be done. Now we go to this option route, and we have to now select the route. I will be flying from Dubai International Airport, OMDB, and I will be going to OTHH. So now with this, just remember this thing. After this step, once you enter the route from and to, then you have to file your flight plan and get this option. So go back to clearance, and over here you will see request IFR clearance for instrument flight plan, FP. So it's basically instrument flying rule clearance. So you're going to tell the tower that you will be flying from Dubai to Qatar. I was about to say Oman. I don't know why. So you will be going to Qatar, and you have to get the IFR clearance. So let's get the IFR clearance, because once you get the IFR clearance, you will get the runway for the takeoff. And once you have the runway for the takeoff, then you can make a flight plan. So that's what I'm going to do right now.
Dubai ground Emirates for 20 ready to copy IFR clearance to Oscar Tango Hotel Hotel.
Emirates 420 is cleared to Oscar Tango Hotel Hotel Airport as filed. Takeoff runway 30 right climb and maintain 8,000 feet. Departure frequency is 121.025 squawk 2563.
Emirates 420 cleared to Oscar Tango Hotel Hotel Airport as filed. Takeoff runway 30 right climb and maintain 8,000 feet. Departure on 121.025 squawk 2563.
Emirates 420 read that correct. Contact ground on 118.35. Good day.
So now we have got the clearance. First of all, I also have to turn off this option, the AI radio communication, because the moment you will turn on the APU, the AI will automatically call for the pushback. This is what you don't want it to do. So that's why I always turn it on once I'm at the runway and ready for the takeoff, because then I leave everything to the AI for the communication. But once I'm at the ground, I don't use the AI option. So every time when you get a clearance, you do anything, you have to acknowledge this. Right now, the AI has done it for me. So you can see that I have to take off from runway 30 right, and then I will climb to 8,000 feet. It's better to enter this altitude over here. Otherwise, once we are done with the FMC configuration, then I will be configuring the mode control panel. Then we will set the altitude over here. So let's keep it over here, and let's go to SimBrief and make a flight plan. And from there, I'll take you further. Now, this is SimBrief, a free resource on the internet, which can be used to make the flight plans, and it's, I think, right now one of the best and the powerful tools available on the internet to make flight plans for the flight simulation. It is actually powered by Navigraph, and Navigraph provides you charts for the flight as well, and plus it also provides you the updated AirAC cycle. Right now you can see my AirAC cycle is current, so it means it's updated. It's the latest because I've got a Navigraph subscription. It's better to have this subscription so that you can have access to the charts. That's what I'll show you during the flight. So it's good to have this subscription. So first of all, you have to select the departure airport, which is OMDB. So I will select it over here. It's already coming. So I will click this, and OTHH will be my arrival airport. Alternate airport, you can select it yourself, or you can keep it auto, or you can enter it. It's totally up to you. I will just leave it like this. Okay. I'll keep it to auto. And then the airframe type has to be Boeing 777-300ER. So let's go and look for Boeing 777-300ER. And here it is. So this is the option that you have to select, variant or airframe. If you are using different variant or airframes of this, then it will come. Otherwise, it's coming as default. So just keep it like this. And the cruising climb profile, just keep it there. Cost index will be a number between 1 and 100. It's actually a number which determines the rate of fuel burn during the flight. But the bigger the number, the more fuel is burned. The plane's range is reduced. Obviously, you're burning more fuel, but plane goes at a higher speed. I usually use 8. It's more critical for the airlines, but if you are just flying it for the Microsoft Flight Simulator, doing your simulations, then you can choose a lower number if you want to burn less fuel and you want to have an extended range. Then choose a small number. Otherwise, choose a big number. In this, the plane will go at a higher speed once the autopilot is activated. Okay, and another thing that you have to do is this. Select the runway, the departure runway. You can select it yourself, but right now you can see 30 right was automatically selected. And for the landing, 16L is selected. I can change it to 34. Anything that you want over here, you can just select. This is not mandatory right now. I will tell you why it's not mandatory. You can select any of the runways because you need this information for the fuel calculation. Now over here on this side of the screen, you will see that a flight path has been generated. This flight path is as per runway 12 right or left, and this one as per the 30 right or left. Okay, because I will just show you. So the alternate option is also coming. And for the landing, it's selected for 16 left, and as you can see, this is 16 left and right, and this is 34. I think 34. Yeah, 34 left and right. So that's it. So there's one thing I would just like to tell you, that every flight plan has got 4 things. One is for the departure, which is known as the SID, Standard Instrument Departure. And the last one is STAR, which is Standard Terminal Arrival. And anything in between consists of 2 things. One is the waypoint, another one is the airway. So what is the SID and the staff? Let me first explain it to you, and then I will take you further. This is actually a procedure to fly out of an airport or land at an airport. So right now you can see this NABI 3F is the SID. So it is actually a procedure which takes you from the runway to the first waypoint of the flight, which is NABIX. So that's how it's happened. And these all waypoints, LOPAP, DB410, these are all updated accordingly. As you can see, they are not coming in the plan over here because they're all part of this SID. Similarly, while you are about to land at an airport, STAR is required, which is a procedure to approach the runway. You simply don't go and fly or fly out of an airport, land at an airport without a SID and a SAR. So they actually tell the procedure, the path towards the runway, plus the speed and the altitude. So these three most important information is embedded in the STAR and the SID. Once I will update the flight plan, you will see it over there. Then you have the waypoints and the airways. So this will be automatically updated. The SID will take you to this point, NABIX. Then you have to take an airway, P699 to Oxari, OXARI. So this is an airway and this is a waypoint. You can differentiate between a waypoint and an airway by just looking at it. Anything which is in alphanumeric value, it's an airway, and anything appearing in alphabetical value is the waypoint. So P699 is an airway, M430 is an airway, and Tosta and Oxari are the waypoints, which will take you to TOSN 1P. That's it. This is the STAR. So it's simple. Once you will do different flight plans, then you will really understand. So at this point, what I'm going to do is this. I can set the altitude. I forgot to do this. I have to set the altitude. For this flight, I will be using 32,000 because as per this, the fuel will be calculated and top of descent and everything. Then you have to select the passengers, full and freight auto. That's it. Zero fuel weight, you can keep it at auto. But right now what I've seen is this, that if you make a flight plan over here and if you go to the Microsoft Flight Simulator, there is kind of a disconnect in the weight and the fuel. That's what I'm going to just show you right now. Okay, so what I'll do is this. Once I have the flight plan, I can press this button, generate flight, and then I can show you the fuel calculation and the rest of the stuff. So on this page you will see the fuel, the maximum, the fuel, which is I think block fuel is 17, or rather let's round it off to 18 tons or 17,974 kgs. Empty weight of the plane is given 167 tons. Estimated zero fuel weight is 209 tons or 209,611 kgs. Zero fuel weight is the weight of the plane with the cargo and with the passengers. Yes, without the fuel. So zero fuel weight. If you keep the fuel zero, then what's the weight of the plane? And then you add fuel to it. So right now the takeoff weight is the estimated takeoff weight is 226 tons or 226,950 kgs. So that's it. This is the information that you need to get the fuel and the weight of the plane. There is just one calculation that we have to do in which we have to convert the fuel from kg to pounds, because in this Boeing 777-300ER, all the units are coming in pounds. So I will also tell you how to do this. So right now you just have the fuel and the weight calculation, but you will see that there will be an issue. Right now estimated takeoff weight is coming as 226,000 and 950 kgs, which is 226 tons. But if you want to adjust it in the Microsoft Flight Simulator, you will not be able to select 226. So I will just roughly take 18,000 of fuel and the weight will be 300,000, but I will also not change it, because why? I will tell you right now. So there is some catch to it. Okay, if you go to this weight calculation, you will see that we have a fuel of roughly 95,000 kgs and the total weight is 350 kgs. If I want to reduce it, you can see I cannot go less than 220, 226. It's saying at 226. So it means you're carrying very less fuel. So as I've told you before, no need to do this. Just go with the settings that you get, because you know obviously you're flying in a flight simulator. The weight doesn't really matter a lot. It matters in the planes if you are flying the PMDC 737 or the fly-by-wire Airbus A320, in which, or the Phoenix simulations Airbus A320, in which you have a takeoff performance calculation and stuff like this coming in the electronic flight bag, as this plane doesn't have an electronic flight bag. So that's why you cannot do a takeoff performance calculation. So that's why whatever you get, just keep it like this. No need to change it. Otherwise, if you want to change it, you can change the weight and the fuel. Accordingly, I always do a flight with all the given information. And plus, if you get this error CG out of limit, you can always move the slider, as you can see, you know, over here to get rid of this error. So you can just get rid of it. Right now, if you change the units to pounds, they change over here, not for the weight, only for the fuel. Yes, because fuel is kind of a tricky thing. In some areas of the world, it's weighed in pounds. In some areas, it's weighed in kgs. But right now over here, the units always remain in the kgs. That's it. Remember one thing, that you should have a fuel in the main tank too. It has to be there, because if you don't have the fuel in the main tank too, then the APU will not start. So this is something that you have to remember. And let's say if you set the fuel to, let's say if I keep a fuel at 32,000, you will see there is no fuel in the fuel tank 2 or the fuel tank 3. So you have to have fuel over here. But what happens is this, that this fuel is burned during the flight, and once you land and you need the APU, as you don't have any fuel in the fuel tank too, so the APU will not start. And even if you have only fuel in the fuel tank too, you will have an error that there is a fuel imbalance. Right now, can we just see it? You can see fuel imbalance. This is coming fuel low right. So in the right tank there is nothing, but in the left tank there is. So in order to balance this, you have to have fuel in the other tank as well, and then this error will go away. As you can see now, it's gone. So that's why it's a bit tricky. So always have some good amount of fuel in the tanks. No need to worry, because you know you're not doing a real life flight. So it's okay, whatever the weight and the fuel that you get. But remember that if you're doing a long haul flight, obviously then you have to have more fuel. Then just check in the SimBrief how much fuel you need, and then you can adjust it. And according to this, you can also adjust the center of gravity over here. So right now you can see fuel is enough. We have enough fuel, passengers, and the cargo is loaded. We can even go to 399,000, and then I can adjust it, as you can see, and then I can close it. But obviously, if you're just having some load in order to take off, and you have to have more flaps, otherwise it will not take off. So what I'll do is this, I will just keep it at 350. And you also have to remember one thing, that for the landing, you should have a minimum landing weight. There is a minimum landing weight for every plane, so you should not be more than that. You should carry the fuel in such a way that all the fuel is burned during the flight, and once you're about to land, the weight of the plane is below the minimum landing weight. But right now, we are not getting into these calculations. As I've told you before, the electronic flight bag is not there, so you cannot do that calculation. Otherwise, whatever the information and whatever the fuel and the weight that you get over here, it's okay. For a long haul flight, you can just increase the fuel, and that's it. I will not go into further complications. Okay. So let's close it, and now the fuel is, as you can see, already set over here. But right now, if you want, you can also call for the fuel supply. I can also call for that.
Emirates 420, could you please send a fuel truck?
Emirates 420, a fuel truck is on the road.
So this is how you can get the fuel truck. And right now you can see the baggage services and the catering services are complete. If you go out, you will see that everything is now closed. Only the jetway is connected. Okay, that's it. So what I'm going to do is this. I'm going to first of all go to this option departure, and I have to select the departure, and that will be 30 right. This is the clearance that I've got from the ATC, 30 right. So I'm going to select 30 right. And for the SIDs, as you can see it over here, for the SID, if you cannot see the SID that you are about to select, or the one that you want, just press next page and you will go to the next page. Over here you will also see page numbers. So it says if /2, it means this view has got 2 pages. You can scroll through them. And this is the SID that you want. If I just go to the flight plan, you will see it over there. So this is the SID, NABI 3F, which will automatically take you to NABIX. So it will be updated. So if I press execute and if I go back to route, and if I go to the next page, as you can see on the route page, there is also coming 1/2. So it means it has 2 pages. You can scroll through them. So if I go to the next page, you will see NABI 3F to NABIX. Now P699 to Oksari. As you can see it, P699 to Oksari. So P699 is an airway. And Oksari is a waypoint. So this airway will lead you towards Oksari. And the last one is M432 Tosna. It's a small flight, only 2 waypoints and 2 airways. M432 Tosna. That's it. And now I have to go to the arrival. As I've told you before, for the arrival, it's a bit tricky. What we can do is this. I can just leave it like this, and I will not select the arrival, because once I'm near the Qatar International Airport, Hamad International Airport for Qatar, I will be getting the runway to land. So let me just first of all reduce the size of it, and let me just show you one thing. If you on your FMC, if you press this option legs, you will see the flight plan. If I move this dial over here to the plan, as you can see it over here, you will see the complete flight plan. So okay, so I will just zoom out and I will show you. So right now you can just go through the flight plan and see if there is any issue in the flight plan or not. Number one. Oh, sorry, legs. I have to press this, and then I have to actually press step. You can also press next page, or you can press step. So it will take you through the waypoints. So right now the flight plan that's updated, you can see there is no issue in the flight plan, and it's taking you straight to sorry, I just forget to stop over here. Okay. So if I just zoom out, you will see over here on your screen that, OTHH, this flight is ending. And as I've not selected any procedure to land at this runway, so that's why there is no procedure coming. That's a straight point, straight line towards OTHH. I can leave it like this, and once I'm near the runway or near the airport, the ATC will give me the runway and plus the transition and the star. Not the star. Star I will select it myself. And that's what I will tell you how to select the star. But I will get the transition and plus the runway. So I will tell you how to select that and how to enter it over here. So for this flight plan, what I can do is this. I can just simply select a runway. And once I'm near the airport, I can change the runway. Or I can just leave it like this. And then I select the runway once I'm near the airport. So we can have both of the options. You can always change it. So for this flight, what I'm going to do is this. I'm just going to keep it like this. And then I will get this information from the ATC, and then I will select the star and what you can say, the transition. Okay, so this is all done. If you go back to the initial reference page, you will see you have to enter the performance information over here. You can see the gross weight of the plane is coming, the fuel is coming, zero fuel weight is coming, and reserves. For the reserves, let's go or what you can do is this. For the reserves, let's say you have got like because I was first of all planning to take it from the SimBrief, but in the SimBrief the fuel is 17 tons, whereas I'm right now taking 95, or I think 95 tons. How much is the fuel I'm taking? 93 tons. So obviously the reserves of the SimBrief flight plan are calculated based on the fuel calculator over there, and it will be roughly 17,000 pounds. So right now what I'm going to do is this. I am going to set roughly 50,000 pounds, so I can enter 50.0, and I can just set it as for reserves. You can just enter this information. It will not have an impact on your flight, but that's how it's done. Otherwise, if you want to look for the reserve fuel, I'll just show it to you in the SimBrief where to look for. So in the SimBrief, just simply click this option, View PDF, and you will be able to see the flight plan or the operational flight plan, OFP, and this has the information for all the fuel that's required for the trip. And right now you can see that 17 tons is the fuel that you need, and it's roughly reserves over here, FINRES and alternate. So everything combined together is your reserve fuel, which is 9.5 tons or 9,486 kgs. You can convert it into pounds and you can enter it over there. So that's easy to do it. So for this the flights that I do with the Captain Sim Boeing 777-300ER, I just enter a number. It doesn't really have a big impact on the flight. As I've told you before, I'm doing it for the beginners, so I'm just trying to keep things as simple as I can, not trying to get into so much details and so much calculations. Right now you can see you have to enter the cruising altitude, which should be 320 or 32,000 feet. So this is how you enter the cruise altitude. Cost index is 80, and you enter it over here. Now for the thrust limit. For the thrust limit, right now you can see the temperature is coming and 20 degrees, and N1 is coming as 87.9. So it means that once you will take off, if you even give full throttle, the throttle will be actually capped at or stopped at 87%. So the plane will take off with 87% of the thrust. And if I press this option, takeoff 1, and then climb 1, then the power that will be given to the engine on the takeoff is 97.9%. This is actually an option for the reduced thrust. What happens is that every time when the plane is taking off, it doesn't take off on the full thrust. This is how the airlines actually do it. Right now this screen appeared. It means the fueling is now done, so you can always close it. Although the moment I set the fuel over there, it was already set, but this is how, if you're doing it with the ATC, it works. So right now, I will go with the full thrust because I'm not trying to save the life of the engines or put less stress on the engines, but you can always reduce it. But for this plane, you can always go with a full thrust. No need to go for a reduced thrust. If you're using Phoenix Simulations Airbus A320 or fly-by-wire, then you can have a calculation. And you can see if you want to, or even any builds, Airbus A310, if you're doing flights with those planes, it actually gives you your takeoff performance. You can set flex to temp, which is a false temperature that you give into the system on the basis of which the system understands that it's too much hot outside. So it tries to put less stress on the engines by giving less thrust. So that's why you use a reduced thrust. But right now I can go with the full thrust. No need to really worry about that. Now for the flaps, as it's a modified version of the Boeing 747, so that's why the flap positions are a bit different than the Boeing 747. Boeing 747 also has a flap position 10, but right now this plane has got 1, 5 and 15, 20, 25 and 30. So right now if you enter 1 or 15, it will not work. Let me just adjust the view. I will just show it to you because it is the FMC of the Boeing 747. So let's say if I enter 1, it will give an invalid entry. If I enter 15, invalid entry. If I give 10, it will take it. It can even take it 20. 20, can it take it? Yes, 20 it can take. 25 it can take. No, 25 it cannot. Okay. So you can try these options. Even 30, obviously, you don't take off with the full flaps. Yes, invalid entry. Okay. So you can set either 10 or 20. So I can set 10, but if you're carrying more weight or more fuel, then you can set it to 10 degrees. The center of gravity is already adjusted over here. And that's it. Then you have to press these three buttons on the right hand side or the left or the right soft keys 1, 2, and 3. You will get 3 speeds: V1, VR, and V2. V1 is the speed at which you have to proceed with the takeoff. But before 170 knots, you can decide to abort the takeoff, or which is also known as rejected takeoff. As you can see it over here on speed auto brakes, RTO option is coming. So before the takeoff, you set the auto brakes to RTO. So if you abort the takeoff, then these brakes come into action. But after 174 knots, you have to take off. The speed at which you rotate the stick back and the yoke, that is VR, and that is 160 knots. And then as soon as you're at 160 knots, you have to achieve 208 knots, because it's a safe speed at which even if there is an engine failure, the plane can still fly. And then you can just come back and land again if there is an issue and you have exceeded 174 knots. So these are the 3 speeds which are coming over here. With this, we are all done with the configuration of the FMC. Now what I'm going to do is this. I can adjust things over here on the mode control panel. First of all, turn on the flight directors. You will see the crosshair appearing over here. So now I've turned on the flight director. With this, I can arm the auto throttle. It's required because once you will turn on the autopilot, then autopilot will automatically be controlling the thrust lever and the thrust required for the flight. So it will be doing everything on its own. If you don't turn it on, then the speed will not be controlled automatically. Over here, you have to enter 208 knots. It's required because this is the speed that you want to achieve just right after the takeoff. So you have to enter 208 over here. Then altitude. The clearance that I've got is for 8,000 feet, and afterwards I think I will be getting further clearance from the ATC for the altitude. As you can see it over here, takeoff runway 30 right, and climb and maintain 8,000 feet. So 8,000 is entered, and then over here I have to enter the heading of the runway that I'm taking off from. Let's open the charts, and what I'm going to do is this. I'm going to load the flight plan that I've made in the SimBrief, and I will turn on this chart and I will just zoom in. Is it coming? Yes, now it's appearing. And over here you can see 30 right is the runway that I will be using, and the heading of this runway is 299. So I will just change it to 299. That's it. So this is required because after the takeoff, if you are using autopilot, in some cases, if you're getting direction from the ATC, then you might be flying on the basis of a heading. So that's why you use it. Otherwise, you will be using VNAV and LNAV. Now, I will right now tell you the difference between the VNAV and the LNAV. Initially, when I started flying the Boeing 737 and the Explain 11, I was not using VNAV. I thought it's kind of a rocket science to use VNAV. But it's very easy. So LNAV actually enables the plane to follow the flight path. It's your longitudinal navigation, and it tells you the GPS coordinates where to go. And VNAV actually adjusts the speed of the plane and plus the descent rate and the climb rate. So every waypoint has got some kind of a restriction over here. Let's say at this point, DB570, there is some speed restrictions are coming and some altitude restrictions are coming. So these speed restrictions and altitude restrictions are actually followed by the VNAV. So after the takeoff, once you have activated VNAV, then it will be controlling the speed and the altitude as well, and plus the speed at which the plane is climbing. So that's why you have to have LNAV and VNAV. So LNAV is used to follow the flight path, and VNAV is used to control the speed, the climb rate, and plus the descent rate. Now everything is done. The best thing about this plane is this, that over here you can also see the diagram or the airport map, not the diagram, the map of the airport. So the mode control panel is also set. Now we can proceed further with the starter procedures. First of all, you have to turn on the beacon light and the nav light. So let's turn on these lights, and let me change the time of the day and give you some information about these two lights. 7:58 a.m. I have to get back to this time. Okay. So in the night, if I just go out and show you one thing, at the top of the plane and at the bottom, where is that light? Here it is, as you can see it. There is a red light blinking. So this is actually a beacon, which is turned on just right before the engines are about to start, so that the ground staff knows that the engines are about to start, so that they can just clear the area. This is turned on before you start the engines, and till the time you land and turn off the engines, these lights remain on. And the nav lights also remain on throughout the flight. These nav lights are basically an indication to other planes in the night that which direction this plane is going. Right now there is light over here on the parking. That's why you can see the plane. Otherwise, if it's complete dark, and if any other plane is looking at this plane, if it sees a green light over here, as you can see on the wingtip over here, there's a green light. So it will understand the plane is going towards the right side. And if another plane sees a red light like this on this wingtip, as you can see, there is a red light. So it means the plane is going towards the left side. And if anybody sees this white light, so like this, so it means you're looking at the plane from the backside. That's the main purpose of these navigation lights. So let me just change the time of the day and bring it to 758. That was a nice one. When you're doing videos, these funny things happen. Kindly excuse me for that. 7:53 a.m. I'll just keep it over here. So with this, you have to turn on the electrical and plus the hydraulics. As you can see, these are on. You cannot interact with these, but you can see these are two buttons: the primary engine right and engine left for the hydraulic. They are already on, so just keep them on. With this, you have to turn on the seat belts. As now the fueling is done, you can turn on the seat belts. Let's turn on the fuel pumps required for the startup. The fuel pumps have to be on, and as you can see, packs, the air conditioning is already on, and the trim air is on. You cannot even interact with these buttons. Bleed air is set to auto over here, but you cannot even interact with it. But the three buttons that you can interact with it is for the bleed air, for the engines, and for the APU. So for the APU, just keep it at auto throughout the flight. No need to change it. And for the left engine and for the right engine, just turn on the bleed. It's actually a compressed air used for the engine startup. So it has to be on. If you don't turn on, then the engines will not start. That's it. And the rest of the buttons you cannot interact with. That's it. You can set the wing and engine NTIs to auto, and you can also turn on the window heat, which I will do it after the pushback. So right now, as everything is done, I can now start the APU. So let's move the knob towards the right side to start, and it will then automatically come back to on. And now the APU will actually start, and once it starts, you will see on over here. If you're flying what you could say, the Boeing 787 in the Microsoft Flight Simulator, you can see the APU running over here and you can see it's on or not, it's available or not. But right now in this plane, it's inactive. Right now you can see APU on. So it means now the plane has its own power. Then what you can do is this: you can first of all get the jetway disconnected, as you don't need it anymore.
Could you please disconnect the jetway from the aircraft?
So now the jetway is getting disconnected. Here it is. And the door will be also closed. If I go in and see, the door is closed. So that's good. Now, what I can do is this. I can call for the pushback, but before this, you have to disconnect the external power as you don't need it anymore. So let's disconnect this. And power supply, I actually requested it, but it's gone. Otherwise, you can also end the power supply with this. So right now, everything is done. All the ground service is done. Fueling done. Jetway is disconnected. APU is running, and the external power is disconnected. And now I'm going to call for the pushback. And I can release the parking brakes.
Requesting pushback.
Emirates 420 pushback request accepted.
Now let's go out and see what's happening. So now the tug is connected to the plane, and soon the pushback will start. Pushback is one of the tricky things in the Microsoft Flight Simulator. Actually, I'm not using any third-party plugin, so that's why I have to rely on the Microsoft's for simulators built-in pushback tool for the pushback. Right now, what you can do is this: you can start the engines, but as I'm just taking things in a slow manner, so that's why I will just wait for the pushback to end, and then I can take you further from there. Right now you can see this is the electronic flight bag, or the EFB, and or you can also call it the tab, on which you can do all the calculations for the fuel and the weight and the takeoff performance calculation. It's inactive, so right now you cannot do anything with it, but maybe in the next coming few versions, maybe it's updated. I'm not really sure about it, but if it is available, then it's a good treat. Now I can turn towards the left, or to turn towards the right, because
Dubai ground Emirates 420 requesting pushback tug to steer the aircraft to the right.
because I will be taking off from here, so that's why I have to face this way. Okay, now then I can soon ask for the pushback to stop. Oh, I've missed it by a big margin. Kindly excuse me for this. It's not my fault. Let's stop it.
Dubai ground Emirates 420 requesting the end of pushback.
And now the pushback has ended. I can engage the parking brakes, and that's it. So now the pushback is complete. Now I can begin the engine startup procedure. So right now you can see these two knobs over here for the start. So let's start the engine, and first of all you start the engine 2, and then you start engine 1. So let's move it to start for engine 2, or the right engine, and then for the fuel control or engine fuel selector, I will turn it on, and then you will see these parameters going up. This is the rotation of the engine, N1, and this is the exhaust gas temperature. So the exhaust gas temperature rises up, so it means the engine is running. Let's go out and see. So right now you can see the engine 2 is now running, and I will wait for it to stabilize, and then I can proceed further with the, as you can see now, this switches back to normal. Now I can turn on engine 1 or the left engine, same procedure, and now the engine 1 will also start. That's it. With this, I can also turn on all these lights for the takeoff. Sorry, for the taxi, the logo and the wing, and runway turn off lights. So let me just also change the time of the day, and let me just give you some introduction to the lights. So let's bring it over here. If I go out, you will see this is the light for the logo, And right now you can see there's some light on the engines, which is the light for the wings, and this is the taxi light, as you can see it over here. And then these are the runway turn-off lights, which also turn on the lights on the left and the right side, so that the pilots can even see on the left and right side of the taxiways and the runway. You don't turn on these lights on the parking because obviously they're at a lower level, which can be harmful for the eyes of the ground crew. So that's why you just turn them on after the pushback. With this, I can also turn on the landing lights. It will make it more bright. You need the landing lights during the taxi as well. I've asked few of the pilots. They say different airlines have got different procedures, but generally it's a good practice to turn on all the lights so that you don't even forget them. So this is how it is. You turn on all the lights, but maybe some people will say don't turn on the landing lights and stuff like this. But anyhow, you can also make this a good practice that during the taxi, turn on all the lights and then you can just turn them off. Strobe I will not turn on right now because strobe is required on the runway and in the air. So during the taxi, you don't need strobe. So that's why it's off. And with this, you can turn on the anti-ice, not required, but you can set it to auto. And you can turn on the window heat to stop the fog or the ice coming on the screen. Okay, and that's it. And what else? So right now, as the engines are now up and running, we don't need the APU, so I can turn it off. So right now you can see everything is good. Just go like this from top to bottom, left to right. APU is off, battery is on, external power is off. These generator backup switches are on, wiper off, window heat is on. You can interact with these buttons. Electrical and hydraulic systems are on, seat belts are on, no smoking is set to auto. These are the controls for the lights, interior lights for the cockpit. This is what I will show you during the flight. Beacon nav logo, rather, let's go from here. Engines on, that's it. Fuel switches are on, anti-ice is on. You have got on all the lights on, bleed air, everything is on. So everything is looking good. Let's set the flaps to position 15. I have set it to 10 in the FMC. That's the restriction that I have. But now the flaps are set to 15. Now we are ready for the taxi and the takeoff. What I can do is this. Over here on this display, I can zoom in and see the map. But I can also press the weather button and get these circles for the distance. I can also do this and zoom out. I will keep it at 40 knots. Or 40 nautical miles, and the range of this navigation display. But I've done a trick. What I do is this for the taxi. For these videos, I'm actually using the taxi ribbon, which can be turned on in the option if you go to the assistance options in the settings. So you can see it over here that in the assistance options you can see navigation aids, and I've turned on the taxi ribbon. So always keep it on. It's easy to understand. Otherwise, during the taxi clearance, you will also get to know about different taxiways through which you can just reach the runway. Otherwise, as a beginner, it's good to have these taxi ribbons. So for this video, just for the ease of it, I'm just going to keep it like this. Okay. What I'll do is this. I will also have this window, and plus I can have the ATC window over here for. Okay, so I can go back to clearance and then I can request taxi IFR.
Dubai ground Emirates 420 with Alpha ready to taxi IFR.
Emirates 420 taxi to and hold short of runway 30 right via taxiway Zulu Zulu 10 Kilo Kilo 9er cross runway 12 right Mike 13 Bravo Mike 15 Alpha. Contact tower on 119.55 when ready.
Let's acknowledge this.
Taxiing hold short runway 30 right via taxiway Zulu Zulu 10 Kilo Kilo 9er cross runway 12 right Mike 13 Bravo Mike 15 Alpha Emirates 420.
So these are the taxiways which you can see over here. If I'll open this, you will see these taxiways are marked. So you can either consult these charts and do the taxi yourself, or what I can do is this: I can just follow this ribbon to make my life easy. And as you can see, this ribbon is coming over here. So I'm just going to follow this. So with this, I can release the brakes. And let's disarm the speed brake, and let's give some throttle. This function of the speed brake I will also tell you during the flight. So once you're taxiing, just do some eyeballing on the MCP. Just see that everything is good. The VNAV, LNAV is active. Flight director is on. Auto throttle is armed. Because at times I do this one mistake. I don't turn on the LNAV and VNAV, and once I turn on the autopilot, I'm amazed at why it's not following the flight path. So just to save yourself from that, you have to just go through everything. And as soon as I'm short of runway 30 right, when I will be holding short of runway 30 right and requesting a takeoff clearance, afterwards I will also turn on the auto brakes. I will set them to RTU and turn on the strobes. Taxi speed, do not keep it more than 30. Go for a, I can give a little bit of thrust. So it's good to have this taxi ribbon as a beginner. It will be good for you to follow this taxi ribbon. It's also useful once you land, because after landing, you will be getting the gate for the parking from the ATC. Few days back, I was doing this flight, and one time I was about to land in Qatar. There was a plane at the runway, and the ATC asked me to perform a go around. This is for the first time happened to me. But I proceeded with the landing. So if today this thing happens, I will be proceeding with the landing. So hopefully there is no plane on the runway once I'm near the runway. So everything is looking good so far now. FMC is properly configured. We have all the lights on. Flaps are set to position 15. We are taxiing towards the runway 30 right. Don't taxi at high speed, then it will be very difficult for you to actually control the plane on the taxiways. So just keep it slow and nice. .32 or 35 of N1 is a good thrust speed for the taxi. Just rely on the brakes. Just apply the brakes, and then you can just turn. No need to reduce or increase the thrust. That's it. Some little more distance to cover. Actually, taxiing is not done with rudders, it's done with the tiller. As you can see, this is a tiller. So if you move it forward, it turns right, the plane turns right. If you move it backwards, the plane turns left. So taxiing is done with the tiller. So I can just stop here and I will hold short of runway 30 right here. And what I can do is this, I can activate the parking brakes, and then I can now ask for the takeoff clearance. As you can see, this frequency was coming over here. Once I'm near the runway, I will tune into 119.55 and then I can ask for the takeoff clearance. So click this option and get the clearance for the takeoff.
Dubai Tower Emirates for 20
Turn this
ready for
warning off.
IFR departure runway 30 right.
Emirates 420 QNH 29er.9er 2 wind calm. Cleared for takeoff runway 30 right.
Let's acknowledge this.
Cleared for takeoff runway 30 right Emirates 420.
With this, what I'm going to do is this. I'm going to turn on the AI radio communication, because then I will leave it to AI to do all the radio communication. Right now, altimeter is 29.92. Because I'm right now doing a flight in the clear skies, I'm not using the real life temperature, so that's why it's the standard atmospheric pressure. Otherwise, whatever the barometric pressure you get, you have to actually adjust it over here, and you can see the altimeter is getting adjusted. Right now for this flight, whatever the barometric pressure you give, it's given to you by the ATC. You have to enter it over here, so it will then adjust the altimeter, because the altitude of the plane is calculated based on the barometric pressure. So you have to adjust the plane's barometric pressure with the outside barometric pressure, so that the altitude calculation is correct. Make sure that this altitude you are very what you can say. I'm just trying to find the right word for it, but you have to enter it. Otherwise, what will happen is this: if your altimeter is not adjusted, you will keep on hearing an error from the ATC that you are not at the designated altitude. So that's why you have to adjust it. That's it. Now, as I've got the clearance and everything is now done, I can turn the strobe on, and I can release the parking brake, and then I can set the auto brake to RTO for the rejected takeoff, and then I can now proceed with the takeoff. I can turn off these charts, but I can keep this ATC communication window over here. So that's how you start the plane. You get the clearance for the takeoff, and now the most interesting part is the descent part, and plus the approach and the landing part. Now the real fun will begin because I'll tell you there are some challenges. I will just show it to you that why in most of our videos I actually don't use the ATC communication, because it has some drawbacks. It has some flaws, but over a period of time I've actually overcome these things. I have been able to fix it. I've been able to do a flight with all those issues. Now I'm aligned with the runway. So everything is now set. I can just give full throttle and take off. Just push the stick back. Push the stick, not back, pull back. Push the stick yoke a bit. And after 100 knots, you just release it and give full throttle. And here we go. A short flight to Qatar. I hope it's a good flight. There is no issue in this flight. So after 100 knots, I will just release the yoke, just bring it back to the normal position, and after V1 at VR, I will just rotate back on the yoke to take this plane up in the air. VR. I will just pull back on the yoke, and I will just keep the climb to 10 degrees, pitch up the nose by 10 degrees. And then I can now, with the positive rate of climb, I can just get the gears back. And now I can also retract the flaps, and with this I can turn on the autopilot by pressing this button. Now the flaps are back.
121.025 Emirates 420.
And now you can see
Emirates 420 is at 1,600 feet, climbing 8,000 feet.
Emirates 420 Dubai departure QNH
So that's it. I just pressed this button as a precaution because in some flights I've seen this thing that if I don't press it, the plane keeps on climbing. So just to make sure, I just pressed on 8,000. So after the takeoff, once the speed was above 5, I have just retracted the flaps.
20 contact Emirates Center on 124.85.
Now one thing that you have to do is this. After the takeoff, acknowledge handoff,
85 for Emirates 420.
and then you have to
Center Emirates 420 is at 6,500 feet, climbing 8,000 feet.
1,000 feet. That's good.
Emirates 420, Emirates Center QNH 29.9er.
Just make sure you have the same atmospheric pressure over here, and then press this option.
420, contact Dubai departure on 121.025. Good day.
So much communication going on.
121.025 Emirates 420. Dubai departure Emirates 420 7,900 feet.
Emirates 420 Dubai departure QNH 29.9er to continue as planned.
Okay, great. Now I have to press this option as well. Request IFR.
420 requests destination change to Oscar Tango Hotel Hotel.
You have to do this. I have seen this thing that if I...
0 is cleared to Oscar Tango Hotel Hotel Airport as filed.
Okay, thank you.
Walk 256.
Because if you don't do it, the plane will actually keep on flying and you will not get further instructions from the ATC.
Tango Hotel Hotel Airport as filed.
But you can try it on your own,
563.
okay? Whether it works for you or not.
20 readback correct. Radar contact 8,000 feet. QNH 29.9er to continue to DB 587 turning and following heading 240. Proceed on course climb and maintain 10,000 feet.
Okay, so I can climb up to 10,000 feet.
Continue to DB 587 turning and following heading 240.
Just
Proceed
press
on
this
course
button
climb
once again and the plane will
10,000
start to
feet
climb
Emirates
again.
420.
Below 10,000 feet, the speed should not be more than 240 knots. So that's why it's restricted at 240 knots. Above 10,000 feet, then the plane can go at a higher speed. And above 10,000 feet, I can also turn off all the lights, and then I can also turn off the seatbelt signs. So as I was telling you that you have to get this
Emirates 420 contact Emirates Center on
4.85. So it keeps on doing this. The frequency will keep on changing.
124.85.
As you can see,
420.
this frequency is now in the standby. Now it's over here.
Emirates 420 is at 9,100 feet, climbing 10,000 feet.
Nothing else. Okay. So far, everything is good, and I can just turn off the lights as now the plane is at 10,000 feet, so I can turn off the lights. I don't need them. And winging low. So the beacon, nav, and the strobe will remain on throughout the flight. And maybe I can just turn off the seatbelt sign so that the crew and the passengers can move in the cabin. So right now, everything is looking good. The plane is stabilizing at 10,000 feet. We can keep on enjoying the views, but just let's get back to the flight. Okay, so I should be getting more options over here. It's 124.85. So it's 124.85. Yes, I'm tuned into it. Yes. Okay. Now, if you don't see any option, you can always click it, and then you can just correct this. Now, what I can do is this. As you can see, at 10,000 feet, everybody is quiet, not asking me to climb up to any altitude. So I can request for a cruising altitude increase, and you can just go maximum by 10,000.
Center Emirates 420. Request flight level 200. Climb and maintain flight level 200 Emirates 420.
Okay, so you can also do that. And with this, I can also go increase and go for
Emirates Center Emirates 420. Request flight level 300.
further climb to 30,000 feet.
Climb and maintain flight level 200. Expect flight level 300 Emirates 420.
Okay, so I can now further climb to 20,000 feet, and then I can wait for 30,000 feet, and further I can also ask for 2,000 more at exactly at
Emirates
32,000
Center
feet.
Emirates 420. Request flight level 320. expect flight level tree 20 Emirates 420.
And that's it. If you don't hear automatically from the ATC that climb up to a certain altitude, then you can request for an increase or decrease in the altitude. So right now you can see the plane is climbing. And what I can do is this. Right now you can see the speed is not increasing. It's stable at 240. I can increase the speed by pressing this knob, and then I can just move this dial. I can keep it at 280 knots initially. You can see the vertical speed is not getting adjusted in such a way that the speed keeps on increasing. And now the speed will stabilize at 280 knots. What I can do is this. I can right now press this option data, and I can see the constraints at different waypoints. The speed was not getting increased. I think, yes, it's now set at 310. So that's good. I think maybe if I consult the charts and if I load it, and if I look at the the SID for the departure, minimum 190 knots. Yeah. Okay, great. So I was just looking at the speed and the altitude restrictions. So everything is good now, and right now plane is climbing to 30,000 feet. Now I will wait for the ATC to tell me when to start the descent. So this is how you can adjust the speed as well. So now as the plane is going to reach 20,000 feet, that's why the thrust is reducing. But I think I will hear an instruction from the ATC to increase the altitude.
Climb and maintain flight level tree 20 Emirates 420.
So 320. So let's set it to 32,000 feet, and let's press this button so that the climb at least starts, and then we can adjust the altitude. And I can press it again. That's it. And now the plane will further climb to 32,000 feet, and we have got the clearance for that. That's it. I think soon the top of descent will also be coming. It's before Oksari, if I'm not wrong. I think as soon as I'm 32,000 feet, the ATC will ask me to start the descent. So everything is looking good now. And this is a good flight, an early morning flight to Qatar. 22,000 feet.
Emirates 420 descend and maintain flight level 260.
Descend and maintain flight level 260 Emirates 420.
Now I've got the clearance to actually start the descent. So what I'm going to do is this. I'm going to descend to 260. But before this, I have to reduce the speed. So let's keep it at 260 or 26,000. And then I will reduce the speed. I will keep it at, let's say, 0.7 mark. and then I can press this button, and then the descent will automatically start. I actually had to reload this flight due to some issue in my system. So if you find anything different, kindly excuse me for that. But everything remains the same. Now the descent has started, and I'm not really worried about the descent rate because right now you can see this descent point is calculated.
Please expedite your descent flight level 260.
Yes, it's going down. So this descent point is actually calculated based on this direct approach towards Qatar airport. So right now I'm not really concerned about the descent rate because this descent point was calculated based on this direct approach to Qatar airport. So that's why once I will get the clearance for the runway, when I will enter the runway, you will see that this flight path will change a lot. Hopefully, I'll get 34 right or 34 left for the landing.
Emirates 420, please expedite your descent flight level 260.
Okay, it's going down. It's going down. I was just reducing the speed. So above 30,000 feet, the speed is calculated in Mach, but below 30,000, then it changes to knots. So right now, as you can see, the speed is getting stabilized at 0.7 Mach. So now the descent will start. There is an deceleration point, if I'm not wrong, after this point your speed should not be more than 220 knots. This is the maximum speed that you can go at. I will also show you in the charts. So right now everything is looking good. We are descending. Let me turn on the seatbelt signs. I forgot to do that. Because as soon as the descent starts, you have to turn on the seatbelt signs. So now passing 29,300, going to 26,000 feet. Everything is good so far. Let me also adjust the auto brakes for the landing. I will keep it at 4. You can keep it at max or maybe at 3 or 4. I think 4 is good because the auto brakes will come into action as soon as I will land at the runway. First of all, I will activate the reverse thrust by pulling back these levers. In this case, actually the covers of the engines open and the thrust of the engine is reversed. That's why the plane comes to a stop or its speed is reduced. As soon as you are below 80 knots, then you will deactivate the reverse thrust and then the brakes will come into action and plane will actually come to a stop. As soon as you activate the reverse thrust, the speed brake also has to be armed. Let me make sure it's armed. Yes, it's armed. And if your speed brakes are armed, as soon as you activate the reverse thrust, the speed brake is also activated, and which further helps in reducing the speed. For my controller, I have actually kept the reverse thrust at button 4. So as soon as I land, I keep on pressing the button 4 and I give a full throttle in order to have a full reverse thrust in order to slow down the speed. And once the plane speed is below 80 knots, then I release button 4. So right now you can see the plane is about to level off at 26,000 feet. Do I have the runway?
Emirates 420 descend and maintain
12,000 feet. Okay, I will descend to 12,000 feet.
Descend and maintain 12,000 feet, Emirates 420.
First of all, let's adjust the speed. Let's keep it at 270 knots. And I think 270 knots is a good speed. And I can press this button. I'm actually not giving control to the VNAV for the speed because then, descent is kind of messed up. So just to be on the safe side, I'm controlling the speed myself because at a high speed, your vertical speed can be high. So it's easy. to actually descend. Otherwise, there are chances that you might miss the approach. So that's how you have to control it. Like right now, you can see it's 272 knots, and the vertical speed is
20 contact Marine Center on 120.
1,600,
Good day.
1,600 roughly.
126.7 Emirates 420. Bahrain Center Emirates 420 is at flight level 250, descending 12,000 feet.
Emirates 420 Marine Center. Continue to Tosna as planned.
So I am going towards Tosna.
Emirates
If
420, you are 61 miles east. Descend and maintain 6,000 feet. Keep speed not above 220 knots. Expect ILS runway 34 right approach via Lagma transition.
okay.
Lagma.
So now what I'm going to do is this. First of all, I'm going to get the star for the arrival,
Maintain 2,500 feet.
2,500 feet.
220 knots.
Descend and maintain 2,500 feet. Keep speed not above 220 knots. Expect ILS runway 34 right approach via Lagma transition. Clear to Lagma Emirates 420.
So let's now select the approach. First of all, I will go here and for the approach, runway 34 right, ILS runway 34 right. Transition is Lagma, and now I have to get the star. For this, I have to go to SimBrief. So let's go to SimBrief and select the arrival runway. It's already selected 34 right. Otherwise, you can also change it to 16 right or whatever the runway that you get from the ATC. So right now I've got 34 right. So if I select this, I will get the star. TOSN 1R. So this is the star that I will be using to land at runway 34 right. There are 4 pages, so I can scroll through the stars and no, sorry, it's not that one. This is the one, 1R, and execute. And that's it. So I've now got the clearance for the runway. You can see as soon as I selected the star and the transition, you can see the flight path has changed. So that's how you actually change the runway or select the runway for the landing. If I deselect this and I press execute, I just wanted to show you something. You can see now it's kind of a very different flight path coming straight to this point, Lagma, and then right. So if you don't select the star, this is the approach that you're going to get. But if you select the star, then your approach changes. So that's how you have to select the star. And as you can see, as I selected the star, there is a certain pattern that the plane has to follow. If I press data, you will see all the constraints at different waypoints, the speeds, and at different flight levels. So right now I can see not more than 250 knots. I can further reduce the speed to 250 knots. And what I can do is this. I can engage the speed brakes to further reduce the speed so that the descent continues. Otherwise, the descent will be slow. And now as soon as I'm at a safe speed, I can then disengage the speed brakes. And what I can do is this. This is happening because, initially the vertical speed was really high. With this, as you can see, now the speed is at 250 knots, and at 265 knots, I can have flaps to position 1. So I can extend the flaps to position 1. What I can do is this. I can also set the speed to 240 knots, and I can have flaps to position 2 or 5 degrees. That's it. Now you can see. So right now you can see keep speed not above 220 knots. Expect ILS 34 right. So I can further reduce the speed to 220 knots. Okay. And I can engage the speed brake. Actually, I didn't want to reduce the speed so much because then the plane goes very slow. But right now you can see the plane has been missing the turns because I was going at a high speed. But anyhow, I have now engaged the speed brakes, and the vertical speed is really aggressive. So what I can do is this. I can disengage it. I can further extend the flaps to 15 degrees. As you can see, till 225, we can have a flaps at position 20. I'm not going to go for position 20 flaps. flaps actually not only provide lift to the plane but also provide a drag. So it's easy for the plane to control the speed on the descent. If there are no flaps with this vertical speed, the speed might not reduce. So that's why it's good to have the flaps in order to reduce the speed and get a good vertical speed so that you don't miss the ILS approach. With this, I would also like to show you something. If I open the charts over here and let's look at the approach start, sorry, and let me just I think this is the one V, or I'm looking for 1R. Toast now 1R. I think this is the one. Yes, toast now 1R. So this is the star, as you can see it over here. Different speed constraints and plus different altitudes are coming at this point. The altitude should not be more than 3,500 or not less than 2,500. So this is how you're going to approach this runway, as shown over here in the navigation display as well. But right now, as I'm getting the speeds and the altitude from the ATC, so that's why I'm ignoring this. But over here you can see at 2 walks the flight level should be 180, that is 18,000. Should be more than that. But to be on the safe side, because I'm already doing this video the second time, so that's why, to be on the safe side, I'm just proceeding with it. Whatever the instructions I'm getting from the ATC, I'm just trying to follow that. And right now, I can see that the descent rate is very high. So what I can do is this. I can also turn on the vertical speed and I can like reduce it. So this is how you can also control or manage the descent rate. So now the plane is out of the VNAV mode, and now by pressing the vertical speed, but I can select the vertical speed, and now I've set it to 1,000. So I don't want to have such an aggressive vertical speed for the descent, because then I will be at 2,500 feet, I think. I don't know when. At a very early stage. So the speed is reducing. Let me just... Sorry, I have to engage auto throttle. My bad. Sorry for this. Because the plane is out of the VNAV mode, so that's why speed was not getting controlled by the autopilot. So that's why you have to, once the VNAV is deactivated, you have to press this 80 auto throttle button in order to control the speed of the plane. Otherwise, it will keep on dropping. So it's good that I just saw it. Now over here, I don't know how these constraints are coming. Let me just see if these constraints are appearing over here. Afnan, at this point, 11,000 feet, not more than that. So what I can do is this. I can also change it to, let's say, I've got the clearance for what you can say 2,500, but I can restrict it at 11,000 feet over here. Yeah, this restriction. And then from there, I can further descend to 7,000, and then I can descend to 3,500, 6,000, and then 3,500. So this is how I can do it. Although I've got a clearance for 2,500, if I'm not wrong. Descend and maintain 2,500 feet. Keep speed not above 220 knots. Expect ILS runway 24 right. Approach via Legma transition. Clear to Legma Emirates 420. Okay. So right now, everything is good. So by this point, the altitude will be more than 11,000 or 11,000 feet. Maximum speed 250 knots, but as I've got the instruction from the ATC to be at not more than 220 knots, so that's why I'm not increasing the speed. And after this point, I will descend to 7,000. And then to 6,000, and then to 3,500. Actually, that's the issue. So if you try to follow the altitude as per the given constraints or something like this, you keep on hearing this error from the ATC. So whether you can just ignore it or you can try to follow the restrictions. It's totally up to you. So what I can do is this. I can go to 2,500 feet. Let's do that because then I will keep on hearing these instructions from the ATC. As we are doing a flight with the ATC, so we'll just follow that. And for the time being, I will ignore it. But just for your information, I just wanted to take you through the star. Okay. With this, what I can do is this. I can
420 contact Doha approach on 120.675.
I can set the descent rate to 1,000 because I don't want a very aggressive descent.
120.
Because then I will be.
5 Emirates 420.
Or what I can do is this. I can.
Approach Emirates for 20 is passing 10,600 feet, descending 2,500 feet.
Okay, that's good.
420 Doha approach QNH 29er decimal 9er 2. Continue to Lagma as planned.
That's good. So I think the speed is now good. The descent rate is also good. Not descending at a very high rate, but because I can just manage it. If you were flying the Boeing 747 by Salty Simulations or the default Boeing 747, or if you were flying the 787 or the PMDG 737, once you set the vertical speed over here, you also see an arc, which actually indicates that the altitude that you have set over here with this vertical speed, it will be at which point it will be at the given altitude. So you see an arc. It keeps on appearing over here on the navigation display. So that's a very good display. In the Airbus A320 series and the 330 as well, 340, you see an arrow, which actually indicates that by this point you will be at the given altitude. But unfortunately for this plane, that indication is not here, so you just have to do some guesswork. But otherwise, everything is good so far. Let's do one more thing. Let's go to this page and the initialization page. Go to approach and select the speed and the flaps. So I will be landing with 30 degrees of flaps or full flaps, and the approach speed will be 158 knots. That's it. This is what you have to select. Let's do an experiment. Let's see if I just activate VNav. And let's see what happens. So as now I've activated the VNav, it has started to descend. It should not. It should actually restrict itself. The plane should restrict itself to 7,000. It should. The speed is very high. I think let's not mess with the flight. And I will just do this thing. So now the speed is reduced to 220 knots. I will just keep it at 220. Let's listen to the instructions given by the ATC. Let's set the vertical speed to 1,000 feet per minute. Right now you can see I'm crossing 6,700. What I can do is this. As at this point, I should not be more than 3,500. So to be on the safer side, I will restrict myself to 3,500 over here till this point. And I will keep on descending. Let's see what happens. Because if this indicator was coming, then it would have been great to manage the descent. But as it's not coming, so that's why you have to rely on some guesswork or maybe some little bit of practice flights with this plane will enable you for that for this. Now, another thing that we have to do is this. We have to enter the ILS frequency over here. And if you click this button, NavRad, and you go to the Navigraph charts, and you go to the approach, and for the 34 ride, just select the chart, and you will see that for the ILS frequency, it's 110.1, 110.1. This is what you have to enter. And just look at the heading of the runway. It's 336. So I will not be requiring these charts anymore. So 336. That's for the runway 36, right? Let me just check again. I forgot. It was 336. What was the heading? Let's just confirm it. I totally forgot. Okay, so runway 34, right? I'll select this chart and yes, 336. 34. Did I say 36 right before? Yes, it's 34 right. Okay. Now, by this point, the plane should be at 2,500 feet, as you can see at Legma, 2,500 in order to intercept the glide slope. So at Legma, you should be at 2,500 feet. Then you will fly to this point, Lazzo, and then HH911, which is the final descent point. And at this point, the plane will start to descend towards runway if you activate the approach phase with a nose pitch down by 3 degrees, which is the path to follow the glide slope. And the decision height, the different categories of the plane with different decision heights are coming. What you can do is this. You can set 50 feet. Right now you can see decision height is coming as 50 feet. So what you can do is this. You can enter this decision height, or this is in radio, because you can see DA and H. So decision altitude is based on the barometric value and decision height is based on the radio. So radio is 50. So I can let me see if I can set it with the help of the radio. So it's baro. Can I change it? Radio, will it appear? No. So what I'll do is this. I will set the baro. And what I can do, I can, to be on the safe side, I'll set it at 170 feet. There are different actually categories of the planes for the ILS. So I'll keep it at 170. Actually, different airlines have got different procedures and different understanding for the decision height. But usually, it's the height at which you see whether the plane is properly aligned with the runway or not, because you're performing an ILS approach. And the autopilot is aligning your plane with the runway. So you have to visually see whether you're properly aligned with the runway or not.
Emirates 420, you are 14 miles northeast of Oscar Tango Hotel Hotel. Contact tower on 118.525 when inbound.
Tower on 118.525 Emirates 420. Tower Emirates for 2013 miles northeast inbound ILS runway tree 4 right approach.
Emirates 420 tower. QNH 29.902 wind calm, cleared ILS runway, tree 4 right approach.
Cleared ILS runway tree for right approach Emirates 420.
So now clear for the ILS runway, 34 right approach. Thank you very much. That's it. And as you can see, that initially the descent rate was very aggressive. That's why I'm at 3,500 feet. Way before this waypoint, I should have been at 7,000 feet over here. But we can just ignore this because, as I told you before, the descent management was not really good with this plane. The VNAV you've seen, it's not actually trying to follow the constraints. This is what I've observed. And plus, this arc is also missing. The top of descent indicator is not coming. So there are a few things which are not really what you can say up to the mark for this plane. But anyhow, as this is a very good plane available on the marketplace, which you can just fly with some little bit of practice and some wear rounds, you can just fly this plane from one place to another. That's why I'm just doing so many videos for this plane, because it's a good one. And one thing which really pushed me to make all these videos for the Boeing 777-300ER is the number of questions that I was getting on my channel. Lots of questions about this plane. People were really, I think, eager to fly this plane. And now most of the issues are fixed with this plane. You can see you can carry out some flights with some little bit of tips and tricks, as I said before, some wear rounds. You can just do a good flight. What I can do is this now. I'll also turn on the lights. Now just one last turn, and then I will be approaching towards the final descent point for the landing. As you can see, the indicators for the ILS have started to appear as well. The ILS information is coming, AZM 110.10, 4.8 nautical miles away, but you can ignore this because this distance is calculated in a straight line. So I can close all these windows and I can just wait for this turn, and then I can further reduce the speed. Now what I can do is this, that with this turn I can also start reducing the speed. And plus what I can do is this, I can reduce the altitude 2500 and I can press vertical speed. Now you can see this ILS indicator, the diamond shape is above the center line, so it means you are at a safe position. If this diamond was below, it means you were coming at a higher altitude. So it's good to have this diamond in the middle or above than the center line. Otherwise, it's a big issue. If you're coming at a higher altitude, obviously you have to descend at a high rate, and this can result in a high speed. It will be difficult for you to control the speed. Now I can extend the flaps to position 20 degrees. Increase the flaps one more notch. Oops, let me adjust the view. So right now everything is looking good. Great. And now the plane is about to level off at 2500. Legma is the point, as I've shown you in the charts, that you should be at 2500 feet in order to intercept the glide slope. So right now you've seen that I'm not using the VNAV option, and the speed I'm controlling it myself, and plus the vertical speed I was also controlling it myself. So everything is now good so far. Some little more distance to cover. Over here, this is the final descent point, and the plane will actually start to descend towards the runway. At this point, I will lower the gears and extend the flaps to full position and reduce the speed. As soon as the plane is at this point, HH911, you will see this diamond in the middle. As soon as the plane will actually get in a straight line or start heading towards 336 degrees, I can then also activate approach. So now this distance is properly calculated. The distance to runway right now is 14.9 nautical miles. ILS, DME, it's distance measuring equipment. That's why you have DME with it, because then it also tells you the distance, that how far the localizer is or the runway. And slowly this diamond will start to come here in the middle as you will start approaching towards the final descent point. Now with this, what I can do is this, I can activate the approach. This is the button you have to press in order to follow the glide slope. So the plane will now keep on flying in a straight line. As soon as this diamond is in the middle, it will automatically start to follow the glide slope by 3 degrees of pitch. Let's wait for it. So one more thing again, let's check everything. All lights are on. Speed brakes armed. Flaps position 20. Heading has been set over here for the missed approach. And you can also right now adjust the altitude for the missed approach. As I'm not going to perform the missed approach, that's why I'm not touching this topic. But just to tell you that at this point you can this hold button is on, so it means the plane will keep on holding this altitude unless I set an altitude and press this button. But if I change the altitude, you will see that nothing will happen because hold is on. So the plane is actually holding on to this altitude. So I can then adjust the altitude for the missed approach. So let's say after the missed approach, you have to climb up to 3,000 or 5,000 feet. So you even enter this information over here. So as soon as you miss the approach, you turn on the autopilot, you fly in this given direction or the given heading, and you climb up to the given altitude. You also set the speed, and that's how it's done. So right now you can see this diamond is in the middle, and now because of this approach button, the plane has started to descend towards the runway, and with this I can just lower the gears, and I can have flaps to position 30. And with this, I can also reduce the speed to 158, or I can keep it at 160. So right now you can see the flaps are down, full flaps, and gears down. So everything seems to be in a good condition. All I have to do is this, perform a flare before, after the, I disengage the autopilot, and I will wait.
420, wind calm, clear to land runway 34 right.
So what I'll do is this, I will actually perform a flare 30 feet above the ground.
Right Emirates 420.
I will just move the throttles to idle position 30 feet above the ground and slightly pitch up the nose. And then I will try to land the plane. This mode is known as the flare, in which you pitch up the nose of the plane. Obviously you do it with an idle thrust, because if there is thrust, there is power, the plane might even not touch the runway properly. So you have to practice it a bit. I can disengage the autopilot, disarm the auto throttle, and I will try to land slightly off. Not in the center line, but I think I will be able to land. Hopefully it's a good landing. Touchdown, and with this, reverse thrust active. And that's it. 80 knots, and I can deactivate the reverse thrust, and I can just brake, and I can now.
Emirates 420, exit runway when able.
So I'm out of the runway, and with this I can turn on the APU, because as soon as you land you need APU, because the one time.
420, contact ground on 118.575.
Okay, great. So now I have landed.
Emirates 420.
Actually, I've exited the runway. I think maybe I had to take the next exit, but anyhow, I just took this exit. Because you can see the taxi ribbon is taking me from the next turn. So now I can follow the taxi ribbon. So that's why I was telling you to have the taxi ribbon on. It's easy, just right after the landing, it's easy for you to just simply follow this taxi ribbon and park the plane at the gates. Now as you have landed, you can fully retract the flaps. Just make sure that the speed brake is not in place. You can just deactivate this, and let's see now the APU is available. I've turned on the APU because as soon as the plane is parked at the runway, so what will happen is this, that it will take some time for the GPU to be connected to the plane. In this time, you will be getting power from the GPU or from the APU. That's why you turn it on. Let's give some more power. And one more thing we have to do is this, turn off the strobe. We don't need it. And that's it. Everything is looking good so far. Just a little bit of distance to cover, and I will then park at the gate. I think the last time I flew with Emirates was like 2 years back. In October, I was coming back from Pakistan after spending 8 months because the flights to Saudi were closed. So I had to work from home for 8 months. So it was a very long time during the corona. And then I spent, I think, 14 days in Dubai as a quarantine. But we were free to move, so I went to Dubai Expo. It was a good experience. So that's how you do a full flight with the Captain Sim Boeing 777-300ER with the radio communication or with the ATC communication. Let's park at the gates and finish this video. It has been a long day for me. This taxi ribbon is also, I don't know why it's taking me like this. What I lose is I will just try to do it like this. I wonder why it was like this. Okay. It's a gate B5. I hope it's a good parking. That's it. And with this, I can turn off the lights. We don't need the lights anymore. I can turn off the engines, parking brakes, beacon, and nav off. Now you can see the external power is already available. You can again call for the GPU in order to connect the GPU WAN with the plane and get the external power, but I can just switch to external power. As now we have the external power, I can turn off the APU. And with this, what we can do is this, we can simply call for the jetway, ground services, and tune into ground and jetway.
Ground Emirates 420, could you please connect the jetway to the aircraft?
Let me see how is my parking.
Emirates 420,
Oh,
the jetway is going to be connected.
not bad. I will just give myself 11 out of 10. I'm scoring myself, so I can just give it slightly off this line, center line, but somehow it's good parking. And with this, you can turn off the fuel pumps as you don't need them, and plus turn off the anti-ice. Sorry, this other way. Remember to do all these things. Just put the plane in such a way, the way that you got it. Turn off the window heats. Oh, turn off the seatbelt sign so that passengers can get off their seats and just go to the home. Why the yoke is shaking. I have to adjust my controller. So that's it. So that was a successful flight. Now the plane is on the external power. The battery is on. Everything is off. I've just put the plane in the way I've just got it. And that's it. I hope you have learned something from this flight, and now you will be able to also carry out a flight from one point to another using the Captain Sim Boeing 777-300ER with the help of ATC communication. If you've got any further questions in this regard, you can ask me in the comments section. I will try to answer your questions as quickly as possible, but if there is a delay, kindly excuse me for that. If you want to add anything to this video, the comment section is there for you. With this, I would just like to end my video. Thank you very much for staying with me. Have a nice day. Hope to see you soon.